These days, I find the fighting game leaks have become very crazy. The cat has been out of the bag for a while, but Elphelt is finally back in Guilty Gear Strive.
You're listening to Personality, your gateway to the latest in gaming news.
What is happening, everyone? Hope you had a fantastic week, but we had, as Guilty Gear fans, a great week as well, or a great day, or a great announcement. It depends on what level of appreciation you have for characters that have guns, because Elphelt is back in Guilty Gear Strive, looking, I would say, a bit different. Now, I'm not really accustomed to the previous version of Elphelt, but I know everybody had that gun PTSD. However, upon looking at the different trailers that they released for her overall guide, she kind of reminds me of Sin. No, and I mean that because of the mix-up options and the various things she can go into from just initial starting moves. She doesn't have that stamina, so she kind of looks a bit more broken from that approach. But overall than that, I like Elphelt's new design. One thing I really love about fighting game characters, or a specific niche of fighting game characters, so I like ninjas. I love to see ninjas in fighting games. But you see those fighters that are somehow intimately in love with music, or they do something music related. The fact that Elphelt has a gun, pistol, mic, blade, I don't know, she has so much going on there with that little piece of equipment. Little Missy Elphelt came back in Guilty Gear Strive with, but overall this character looks very exciting. I'm so sorry that it got leaked so much. So if you were genuinely surprised and you got to see this new character and you were like, yo, I did not expect to see Elphelt in Strive, good for you, but the leaks were kind of crazy. Everybody was posting it until I think the first person I saw the official announcement from was from Harada, and I was really confused. I was like, wait, Harada is leaking now? Have the Tekken leaks affected him so much that he said, you know what, frick it, everything's gonna get leaked, including a game that I am no way related to. But the overall starter guide for Elphelt has produced some insight into the character. She has a lot of rock. I love her rock and roll aesthetic that she has going on. I mean, the whole of Guilty Gear has that rock and roll aesthetic, but she literally does that, you know, that kind of death metal scream into her mic when she actually uses her special tension moves. And overall, I think this is a character that came back in a way and fashion that not many people expected her to come back in. And overall, she will be bringing changes as Season 3 comes along, because it's a new character to play. But the thing with Season 3 coming along is not that just, you know, Elphelt is here, but the game is constantly getting updates. So we already spoke about Potemkin and Axel's new moves that had to be put into the game. Well, they're now available because, you know, Guilty Gear wasted no time with this update. They showed you, yo, it's already here. And on top of that, so there's been a bunch of new changes that we're just gonna briefly look into. I think the more important ones that we can focus on are the general mechanics. I already looked at the Sin changes. I don't like the fact that they're trying to take momentum away from my boy. He's a momentum character, so the movement momentum of him has been slightly affected for Hawk Baker, but that's okay. You know, I mean, Sin is in a much better state than he was before, so, you know, minimal complaints here and there, but there were some characters that got some decent touches. So first things first, the network mode. The information shown on the upper left of the screen after selecting quick start has been changed from the last for access to the player's recommended floor. The information shown on the upper left of the screen, so, you know, it's just some general UI changes. They fixed an issue with the R codes. Of course, digital figures would have changed. Obviously, they had to update Elphelt's entry into the Guilty Gear world. Mission mode has changed. And of course, we get to the game mechanics and overall changes. Now, I think ArcSys is very receptive to what their community is saying until they do weird stuff like Nago buffs and Happy Chaos maintenance. But even that gotta change. But for now, there have been some changes to Wild Assault, Deflect Shield, and Positive Bonus. So Positive Bonus was kind of cracked after that update, but let's see what changes were added. So Wild Assault has had different properties changed for the different colors. So now Red Wild Assault has increased damage scaling with reduced damage when it's used in combos. So the Red Wild Assault characters could have used that Wild Assault as a combo extender, and, you know, the scaling was a bit wonky. But now they've tweaked that. And of course, the charged version has an increased startup, which makes some combos no longer possible. And on top of that, I think there was a general change for Wild Assault affecting the amount of psych burst meter that it's taking out. So that has been changed a bit. So it takes out a bit less. Blue Wild Assault, some adjustments have been made to the push box, leaving the player closer to the opponent after the attack. The increased guard crush duration also opens up possibility for more powerful strings. And then we have the white Wild Assault, which has increased movement speed and can hit opponents from greater distances, which makes it more potent when incorporated into the neutral game. So I think some people had that complaint about the white Wild Assault. However, it's still an armored move. So there was some complaints about it, but I think they did a tweak to it, which may make it more viable. And of course, deflect shield, whereas previously the distance after a successful deflect shield would differ depending on the deflected move, the distance now remains consistent for all moves. So it's no longer as random as it was, and this creates an opportunity to reset the situation or go on a counter offensive against any move. So you remember last video, we actually spoke about the fact that not many people were using deflect shield. I think this gives you more reason to actually utilize that defensive option, because it's not just Wild Assault, guys. There's more things that can be used. And of course, positive bonus has had a shortening of the duration of the effect, because damn, that used to last long. After that wall break, you're in that positive bonus and you can just keep rattling off more and more of that tension meter to your advantage. And of course, they have increased the rate of tension gauge increase, and burst gauge increase rate remains unchanged. So enough of the burst. I think burst is in a good state overall, so it doesn't really have to deal that much. And of course, there were general changes to every character that we're not gonna cover in today's video, but of course, link below for the patch notes, so you can just go and check out what changed for all of your characters or the one main that you have. Of course, Axel had the update to his new moves, and Chip, you know, Standing P has a slower starter for the maximum range of the move and is no longer as powerful as counterattack at close range. So there were these overall changes. I think the character that saw the most change would be none other than Asuka. Now, Asuka was safe last balance patch because, well, you know, he was the last guy. There wasn't much going on, but the extended hurt boxes of magic that can be dispelled with attacks and decrease movement speed for some magic projectiles make it easier for the opponent to deal with Asuka's projectiles. So he's a much more, I don't think this is a big nerf. And of course, we won't really see that because this is like, what, day 1 after this patch? So we're in a state where Asuka could potentially be affected, but we don't know the extent as yet. But of course, he still has the effect duration of recover, mana, and bookmark has been now shortened as they allowed for extended one-sided offense on activation. And Terra Metron launches the opponent higher to address the difficulty of landing additional hits after a hit from maximum range. So perhaps we're going to see less juggling from Asuka, but when playing against Asuka, it is a game of patience. And I think that the Asuka matchup, let me show y'all something. It requires you to kind of study Asuka to a certain extent. Now, you don't have to go to the level I did because I genuinely want to learn Asuka. So what I did, let me see if this could focus. It really, all right, don't mind my bad drawings. All I really should have done was just print out these things. So I basically went about like making these cards on Asuka and basically summarizing their effects. So all of these are Asuka's cards, by the way. I'm a huge Yu-Gi-Oh nerd too, so I didn't mind doing this. And it's a case where, you know, you've got to familiarize yourself with what Asuka can do, because he's not a straightforward character where all his options are just simply from, you know, some straightforward inputs. But it is a case where, because of how many options Asuka has, it isn't enough for you to just remain ignorant. You've got to actually learn this man's deck. It's kind of like Yu-Gi-Oh! You don't want to go up against a specific deck archetype blind, you want to know. That's y'all are ready to see me geek about Asuka yet, yeah. You understand? But overall, there were other changes made to his individual spells and attacks, and for example, Bit Shift Metron had a decreased movement speed of the projectile, expanded the hurt box of the projectile. So there are cases now where Asuka may become a bit more manageable as we continue on in the lifespan of Guilty Gear. But what is most interesting to me, I mean, everything so far has been interesting, but this strikes me the most, is that 3 players as a team. New online versus mode, team of 3 coming up. Now, when we saw the earliest set of leaks for season 3, there was some suggestion that Guilty Gear was going to get a tag system. That's what we heard. That's the first thing that many people were speculating, that Guilty Gear all of a sudden is going to become a tag fighter. But I think there's also this layer of complexity that may be added with this. It isn't simply put a KOF mode. I saw a tweet that says everybody wants a KOF mode, nobody wants to play KOF, and that's very true. But the 3 players as a team, new online versus mode, team of 3 coming up, is very interesting because now it creates another layer, an additional layer of Guilty Gear that I don't think many fighting games have explored. I mean, there is the case where you can organize it, you can have a team of people playing, and then they take turns at the individual sets against each other and they score a point for their team. But Guilty Gear is now giving you that option, or is looking to give us that option in 2024. We don't know what date, and we don't really know the specifics of it. But if it is a case that it's literally 6 people playing 3v3, then that would be great. We already know that they went back and gave 3 versus 3 to Accent Core, but that was more in line with the very popularized term of the KOF mode. But this is a case where it's 6 players. That's a case where it's 2 players, but 1 player has control of 3 characters and they take sets off of each other. This is an interesting mode. And I think what ArcSys is doing is they're managing to keep a game that is not that old. Well, they have managed to keep older games, as we know, with Accent Core relevant by constantly giving it updates, constantly making it match new games in terms of quality of life features such as rollback and overall connectivity and responsiveness of the game. But now they're taking Guilty Gear and almost creating a new package. It almost feels like if this has to be intentional. It can't be a case where, you know, some people are saying, oh, this should have been originally released when and when. But it's a case where they're probably looking at Guilty Gear as this, how can we add more to the game to not only keep it relevant in the conversation of other fighting games, but also keep it fresh for our players. And I think this addition, when we get to see it, is gonna be fantastic. I can't wait to see what ArcSys is cooking up, because they've been cooking not only with Guilty Gear, but with a plethora of games where they help out, where they assist. Wherever I see that ArcSys logo attached, I can trust, I can believe that there will be some form of cooking there. You know, they may not always cook the best meals sometimes for some of us, but I think it's definitely something you can wrap your head around and enjoy. But that is what we gathered out of Guilty Gear's announcements at the Game Awards this year. Of course, best fighting game, well deserved, went to Street Fighter 6. So congratulations to Street Fighter 6. I mean, the team made it possible, the player base made it possible. It's a well-deserved victory. And let me tell you something, 2024 coming, the momentum for fighting games is not slowing down. Hopefully we can see some quality of life patches for Mortal Kombat 1. We've still got Tekken 8 on the way. And of course, you've got fighting games like Under Night in Birth coming. Very soon we'll be seeing Grand Blue Versus, so we'll be covering a bit of how that release was received. But I'll see you guys in the next video. And until then, stay gaming.